Here's a question that I get often. Who is Odin? What is he like? How do you work with him? And what does he teach? How do I tap into what he knows? Now, Odin is Odin is a god that has many faces. He's a many faced god for sure. He has many sides, and he has many titles that describe his functions. But what I don't often say is the downside of working with any god of knowledge who has the ultimate goal of basically preserving the world and doesn't always care about you as an individual. Odin is the kind of god that will use you to the right end, but you will still feel used if certain bits of information are revealed, and then the rest of the information that would have made you retract actions that you commit is not revealed, so that you will further the overall plan of preserving this world for as long as possible. Now, I'll give an example. When I first started working with Odin, I thought that if I sacrificed my time, if I made sacrifices of mead, if I meditated upon him, if I offered incense, if I offered herbs, if I offered meats, if I went out into the forest and tried to basically contemplate him and offer that time that I spend out there to him, I thought that this would be enough of offering to get what I want. I thought that he could satisfy what I wanted and how I wanted it, and basically this had nothing to do with the kind of knowledge that was revealed. The reason why he doesn't always give us what we want is because, well, it's twofold. One, it's because it's not always what we need, and two, it's truly knowing anything is not knowledge that lives up to our expectations. We want certain things, and we want to even believe certain things, but once information is revealed that goes against our assumptions, once information is revealed that doesn't help us make the connections in even our personal life, between different spiritual systems, between the kind of pieces of knowledge we want to learn, then we feel like Odin is not giving us what we want. And I will tell you one thing about Odin: he will not give you exactly what you want. He won't. He's not that kind of God. He's the All-Father, and a good father doesn't give you everything you want and only gives you what you truly need. But with Odin, sometimes he doesn't even give you what you need. He gives you the information that gives you the expansive knowledge of this universe. And I've learned so much working with Odin, and I've learned so much about this universe. But the more that you learn, the more you realize that this knowledge sets you apart. This knowledge isolates you. This knowledge takes you away from humanity because you understand more than most other humans. Now, he won't give us the knowledge that we need, that we might think we need about, our death. That is a tightly held secret that Odin keeps with him, because Odin often is, if we work with him, he'll basically come and have a hand in our death when the time is right, when it's appropriate. So he does withhold things that we think we need, like the knowledge of our own death. But it is not because he's maniacal, because he hates us, because he wants us to suffer and he wants to be cruel. It's because to know the time of our own death and how it will happen is to really reshuffle the cards as far as our relationship to reality. Odin is not a chaos magician. He's not a practitioner of chaos. He's a practitioner of order of the highest regard, which involves chaos, but any chaos used in what he does is to help preserve the world. So, as I progressed away from the original ideas I had about Odin and what he could provide and what he would provide to me, I started to realize that every piece of knowledge that I learned that gave me information about the universe, about the multiverse, about all the worlds of Yggdrasil, or there are many different dimensions along Yggdrasil which branch off into other dimensions, each one, whether it be Niflheim, or Vanaheim, or Jotunheim, or Asgard. All of these different kind of groups of universes are, just imagine a sphere as being, a certain plane, and there's a lot of universes attached to that, and it goes up the tree of Yggdrasil, and even our own spine even is a reflection of Yggdrasil. If we look at the chakras and what they serve in our body and our to make up our spiritual existence, our spiritual contact to basically consciousness, we start to realize that our spine is a very connected part of to our ego and to our spirit and to our soul and to the person that we are and we need to be right now, connecting all of that to Yggdrasil through our spine as it is a reflection. But getting back on path of what I was talking about, Odin reveals much knowledge that will make you truly gasp at the nature of the universe and how vast it is and how many intricate pieces fit together. But he can't provide you with love. He can't provide you with friendship. He can't, not even just with himself. I'm talking about friendship and love and life. Odin is not well known for connecting you with somebody that is to be your wife or husband for the rest of your life, or friends that you desire maybe, or material goods, or success in your job. Odin's not that kind of god. He's a god of knowledge. And he disseminates it appropriately so that you will act in a certain way, so he doesn't always reveal everything to you. This may feel like a very deceptive God. This may seem like a God like, why would you even follow him when you could follow somebody that will give you material, that will give you, all the friends that you want, the love in your life, that will give you every desire you had as far as what you want to accomplish will further you towards that. Why not work with a god like that instead of Odin? And the truth is, a god like that is not concerned with the grander nature of things. Any god that will provide you with everything that you want here is very much bound here. Odin sacrificed his right eye, and this isn't as much literal as it is figurative, because he places that eye in the spiritual realm, in the astral realm. He has one eye on divine nature, what's happening macrocosmically, what's happening with the energies of all the universes combined, and he has one eye on this world. A god that will provide you with everything that you want here. Both eyes are here, and all their power is here. Odin's power, Odin's understanding, Odin's knowledge applies to the multiverse. Everything in reality, everything in all the dimensions and all the universes. And what we learn isn't necessarily satisfying. A lot of the time what we learn about all these different universes and how they relate and our place in them, we feel very small. And we see that we are like a skin cell on the vast nature of the multiverse. The body of the multiverse that is ever expansive. Hard to imagine a body that is infinite, but we are as a cell in that. And the more we start to understand how small we are, that isn't exactly comforting. But then again, we get to a point where that is comforting, because if we think about it long enough, we realize that I have full agency. Mostly, anyway. I have agency. I can't say full, but I have agency for how I relate to every other cell. Like a blood cell in the multiverse. I have agency, and yet I am so small. Even though I am so small, I have agency to fashion my actions. And destiny itself is what we will decide, but it doesn't decide for us, if that makes any sense. It's very hard for people that I've talked to understand that point, that just because destiny is what we will choose, it doesn't mean that destiny chooses for us, or that destiny is laid out and we are forced into certain ruts and so to certain actions that we commit. But overall, I was really depressed about what Odin was teaching me. I've gone through techniques to contact Odin in the past. This is more about my experience with those connections to Odin and what he's taught me. For a long time I was depressed. All the things he was teaching me weren't necessarily what I wanted to hear, and I wasn't finding the kind of love in the world that I wanted to find, because all my relationships have been pretty terrible. Well, not terrible, but they haven't been successful. Um, and I mean that in the search for love. But I've had many relationships. They've all been, yeah. But I have found many friends who are interested in the knowledge about the multiverse just like I am. And I try to reach out to all people who are interested in this so that we can make that connection and we can kind of truly understand our spot along Yggdrasil. Truly understand our part to play in this grand scheme that we find ourselves in, that we've plopped into. And without any backstory, without any context we have to find for ourselves. But in conclusion, when working with Odin, don't expect to get what you want. Don't expect to have all the answers. And expect to be awed by the majesty of all that is. And if you feel like a lot of these truths you don't want to hear, then completely tune off and go to another god. Go to a god that will satisfy what you want in this world and won't tell you about the grand scheme of things and will tell you everything exactly as it is instead of beating around the bush, because sometimes Odin does that. But it's for our own good ultimately, because we need to know certain things at certain times and not everything at once, but also nothing relative to basically our personal events in our life. To know the events of one's life, you work with the runes, work with the Norns. The Norns are very hard to work with, by the way, but if you're interested in that, try to work with the Norns. Definitely work with the runes. But Odin is interested in making more people or beings or souls that follow in his footsteps and work for all, but always feel a little separated from everything because you view everything from this point that is kind of above society and away from everybody. And if you are an Odinsman or Odin's woman, and you find a great community in which you really click with, and you find the love of your life and you really click with them, you are lucky, because most of us along the shamanic path following Odin will always feel separate. But these are just my experiences, my opinions, and what I think that if you want to work with Odin, you should expect from Odin. This is I just wanted to add a couple more pieces in here as far as what this video is about, but this is an altar cloth. You really should have an altar cloth when it comes to working with Odin and the gods, so that when you're making offerings, you place it on this, or when you're casting a spell, or reading runes, or writing runes upon bones or wood in order to basically officiate a certain change in reality. When you're meditating, something like this should be before you. There should be a focus for all the energy that you're trying to connect to Odin with. And this is my altar cloth. It doesn't have to be these same symbols, and this is more Wiccan than it is heathen or Asatru, but this is the one that I use. And whatever symbols are significant to you, use that in connecting with Odin. And one more thing. Let's talk about Fenrir and Odin for a second. This is basically a poster that I have framed. And Fenrir is chaos incarnate. Odin knows he will die to Fenrir. That Fenrir chaos will devour him, but he lives every day trying to push back that time when the world will be destroyed by chaos for our sake, so that the story can continue for as long as possible. And there's an ancient mystery behind Fenrir being bound by the gods, but he would have been on their side if he wasn't bound, but he was chaos, so they bound him. But there are more lessons to be learned as far as that goes. But Odin's on Sleipnir, his horse, and he's fighting Fenrir, and Fenrir chaos will swallow him whole. He will succumb to the actions of every being along Yggdrasil, living in Yggdrasil. He will succumb to his own actions, and eventually everything will add up to the destruction of all things. Well, not all things, but most things. So that every soul cannot necessarily be destroyed. Even Odin's soul won't be destroyed. He'll just move on, and another person will take the station of Odin and maybe be called something else. But so that every soul and every foundation is destroyed, so that every soul will have another chance to be something else and learn something else until we are all one with the source once more. Anyway, I just wanted to add that bit at the end. I hope that this video has been interesting. I hope that maybe you've learned a few things about Odin. If you don't believe me, that's fine. These are my opinions. This is what I believe. And I do not attempt to deceive, because I basically lay my heart out in every video, and that is my purpose for being here on YouTube. But thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comment section below what you want to see. If you want to support the channel at all, hit that thumbs up down there. It's really easy, and I really hope to see you in the future. And just, what do you think about the universe? And what are some truths that you shy away from, but you know deep down that they have some importance in the absolute nature of everything that is?